the streets, Witt of PragerU.
I should have worn the sombrero, I know. I have no clue what that means, to be honest. Hola, mis amigos. Hola. We're gonna put all the rumors to rest right now. I'm not black, just so you guys know. But no, first, huge shout out to Candace and all of you guys being here. Thank you, this is fantastic. This is so amazing. And if you guys didn't know, I just have to say, Candace has a new show with PragerU. The first episode came out today with Roseanne Barr. If you haven't watched it, I guess you're here. But go watch it afterwards, it's amazing, it's fantastic. As you can see from that video, white leftists want to tell minorities when and when they shouldn't be offended. What's that? Oh, I did, sorry. I did call it. Basically, they would call that those Mexicans, though, who didn't get offended are token Mexicans. They have internalized racism. It's one of the stupidest things that I've ever heard. You know, I went to California State University, Northridge, not too long ago. And I made a video, I dressed up as a Native American, Indian outfit, for Thanksgiving. And I was with another guy, the Black Mike, if you know who he is, and he was dressed up as a black pilgrim. And we were giving out pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. And we thought it was gonna be a great video. We were asking people what they were thankful for, and it was gonna be really nice. And it turns out, whenever you go to a college campus in California, it's never a great video. And we saw very quickly how it changed. A teacher, a university professor, this is an adult, okay? She came out, she brought her entire class of 30 students or more to come and yell at us, kick us off campus. They yelled death threats at me. They ripped off my costume, and they forced us to leave campus. This is what's being taught at universities nowadays. And so then I decided to put this to the test. Are people really offended by what I'm wearing? So I went to 900 miles away from LA at the Navajo Indian Reservation. And I went and asked them what they thought about it. And it's exactly as you guys would all expect. Not one of them was offended by cultural appropriation. Not one of them was offended by the names Washington Redskins. And not one of them wanted other people to be offended for them on their behalf. It was amazing. It was amazing how many of them were so excited that I was there and I was celebrating their culture. It's cultural appreciation, not appropriation. Nowadays, people are going to college and they're coming out stupider than when they went in. People are not born offended. You can't be born offended. You have to be taught to be that offended. No one is born seeing me in a mustache and sombrero and getting offended by that. That is something that is taught. And at the university, that's exactly where that happens. Leftist professors are teaching their students how horrible America is, how terrible white people are, and above everything else, my culture is not your damn prom dress. Which is made even more funny when you realize that 80% of college professors are actually white. Virtue signaling academics are teaching their students what to think and not how to think, in turn creating an entire generation of young people who think getting triggered is the norm and who think it's horrible to just celebrate someone else's culture and identity. So what does all this mean? All these white leftists getting offended, what does this mean? It really means that white leftists are the most racist people in America. They think that their virtue signaling antics are protecting minorities, but in reality, it undermines them. You can hear them now. Black people in America are being oppressed. It's up to us as white leftists to defend them. Let's go tell white people they can't have braids. I don't tell everyone we're not racist, right? No, it's actually quite the opposite. When you do this, you make it seem like black people can't think for themselves. It undermines everything that they're about. They're not doing it for black people, for Hispanic people, for Native American people. They're doing it for themselves and other people around them so that they'll think that they're woke. But let me tell you something, white leftists. There is nothing woke about caring for the feelings of black people when you then turn around and advocate for the same programs and policies that have kept black people down in America for decades. When you think about something like affirmative action, right? Affirmative action sounds great on paper. Who wouldn't want affirmative action? But in reality, affirmative action is racist all the way through. It basically says as a premise, oh, black people, Hispanic people, they're not as smart as white people, so we need to give them a leg up so that they can make it. But you know why minorities aren't in the same positions as white people and Asian people? Because of the economic oppression that the Democrats have put on them for the last 60 years. You get rid of the welfare state and you fix the education system in these communities, you won't need affirmative action anymore. A study came out, actually pretty recently, that shows that when Democrats talk to minorities, they actually dumb down their speech. They dumb down their speech so that they can talk to minorities, so minorities can understand them. Is that not racist? You know, you think about someone like Hillary Clinton, right? Our favorite politician, Hillary Clinton. Lock her up, just saying. Hillary Clinton, what is something that you always keep in your purse? Hot sauce! Hot sauce, I always keep hot sauce in my purse. You don't keep hot sauce in your purse? What are you doing? This is pandering. This is pandering. This is what the left does. They pander to minorities. Someone like Hillary Clinton, who for years and years has put her own wealth and fortune above the struggles of minorities, doesn't get a free pass suddenly when she says, I keep hot sauce in my purse. It's disrespectful to black people, and honestly, it's just insulting. And they did the exact same study with conservatives, and you know how they talk to minorities? Just like they talk to everybody else. So I was not a conservative my whole life. Definitely not. I was a leftist before when I was in high school and college. Actually, I worked for this Democrat senator back in Colorado, mostly to impress this girl who I knew. But I also was on the left. But I didn't become a conservative until I went to college and I saw how terrible they were to anyone with a different point of view. So I was an English major, worthless degree. And I remember being in my intro to sociology class, and my TA in the class, there was a black girl sitting next to me, and she said, you are oppressing this girl because of the color of your skin. And the girl looks at me and she's like, I don't know what's going on, this is really awkward for me. And I was like, yeah, I don't really think that I'm oppressing you. And at that point I kind of woke up a little bit. And I was like, maybe these things that the left are talking about aren't actually true. You know, I was just in an Uber the other day. I don't usually engage in politics with my Ubers, but sometimes you have to step in. So they're going to swerve off a cliff or something like that when I tell them I'm a Trump supporter. But I'm in a suit, and I get in the Uber, and she says, oh, what do? You look nice. I'm like, oh, I'm a rapper. She's like, you're not a rapper. I'm like, okay, I'm a political personality. And she's like, oh, that's so great that we have young people who are getting out there in the world who are trying to get Trump impeached. Like, we got to get that guy out of there. And I'm just like, yeah. Oh, yeah. And we start talking afterwards, and we keep going back and forth, and I wasn't being combative. If you guys see my videos, I'm not a very combative person when it comes to like that, because you're not going to change their mind that way. But we're talking back and forth and everything, and I get a bunch of answers out of her. She was against affirmative action. She believed in fathers in the home. She wanted to end the welfare state. She didn't believe in transgender bathrooms in elementary schools. She was actually an elementary school teacher herself. And it was like every single thing that this woman talked about was a conservative viewpoint. She believed every single thing that Republicans and conservatives talk about, but the mainstream media has told her for so long that Trump is evil, Trump is racist, conservatives are evil, and that they just are so against him. There's a difference with the left and the right, in that conservatives think that leftists are wrong, and leftists think conservatives are evil. And this is where the main differences come. And the left has done the same thing that they did to that Uber driver of mine, that they've done to minorities for years and years and years in America, with giving them the wrong answers and no tools to break out of the circumstances that they're in. The main message that I want to get across to you guys today is that these white liberals, these white leftists and politicians who claim to have your best interests at heart, the ones who are fighting for you, hope and change, right? These ones, they don't have your best interests at heart, and they're doing it for their own selfish reasons. They champion minority issues like they're their own, but in reality, they know nothing about what is going on in your communities. They've been using minorities for votes for far too long, and it's time to end that. But you know who does care? Conservatives, Republicans, and Trump care about minorities. A politician who's done more for minorities in the last 30 years than anyone else. Because when you succeed, everyone succeeds. And conservatives realize this. Conservatives are the party of America and the party of patriotism. And we realized that the only way for our country to be the best is for everyone living in it to be the best. Conservatives are all about love, and leftists are filled with hate, and they hate people who disagree with them. You know, I was with Candace Owens actually a little while ago. She was filming at the PragerU studio, and her and I went out to go and film because the CMO of PragerU, he came out and he's like, guys, there's like this march going down right across the street. You guys got to go. And we're like, okay. So I get Candace, we grab our MAGA hats, and we roll out. And there are these people there, and Candace and I are just trying to have a conversation with these people and just talk with them and see, like, why do you hate Trump so much? And eventually it gets so bad that these people are just yelling and yelling at us, and they don't want to talk to you if you have a different point of view, and they're talking about minority struggles, and Candace is saying, like, no, Trump has done more for them, and they can't get it through their heads when they're on the left. We had one guy who was practically foaming at the mouth, yelling at Candace Owens. We call him now the Spitting Socialist. It's a great name for him. That video will be out soon, just for the record, but you can see him in all his glory. But that's what the left preaches, and it is so anti-American that it is up to us to fight against it. So I want to end with this, in that you guys have been here today. I'm the last speaker. Save the best for last. And you've heard from some amazing people and learned so much. But why are you here today if it is not to take this information that you've learned and go spread it with everyone that you know and in your communities? That is the main reason why you are here. California, the state where I live in Hollywood. Disgusting, horrible places. Poop everywhere, homeless people. It's disgusting. And that has become that way because conservatives have capitulated to what the left has wanted. They've given in to the left. The policies are the leftist policies that are bad, but conservatives haven't stood up and done anything against it. Think about Reagan. I mean, that was in the 80s. And now look at California. It's completely changed. If we want to make changes in this country, in our communities, and in ourselves, we have to never sacrifice our values for anything or anyone. If someone asks you who you support for president, you tell them President Trump. If someone asks you that we should have lower taxes, you tell them that's what you believe. And if someone wants to shame you for being a Republican, tell them that you are the most Republican person they will ever meet. What defines every American is not the color of their skin, but the values that they hold. And the left has manipulated these values in their effort to destroy America and keep minorities down forever. It's up to all of us here to change it. Thank you, everyone.